Hello and welcome to the Voice of Liberty podcast. My name is Henry Conley, and as always, I'm here with some random thing that just pissed me off today. And surprise, surprise, yet again, it is a series of tweets from Donald Trump. Because for some reason, save for a couple episodes, I cannot seemingly avoid this moron saying something that makes me have to go off the rails. The first tweet that he put out that I just have the need to talk about right now ties directly in with what I was talking about last night, which was the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. So, a little backstory in case anybody hasn't been paying attention. Donald Trump has been on a long-winded rant about anarchists, about Antifa, and about law and order, because apparently he wants a reboot of SVU. See, anarchists and Antifa, they just don't jive well for Trump. See, it's a new enemy for him. It's a new enemy for his supporters, his cult. When they hear their dear leader say something about the crazy anarchists, man, that just gets them fueled up. And remember, they're domestic terrorists. So, in a tweet he put out about 5 hours ago, radical left Governor Jay Inslee and the mayor of Seattle are being taunted and played at a level that our great country has never seen before. Take back your city now. If you don't do it, I will. This is not a game. These ugly anarchists must be stopped immediately. Move fast. There's so much to pick apart here. The first part I want to pick apart is that Donald Trump, for all the time he spends on Twitter, has not downloaded a app that overlays his keyboard and checks his spelling for him. Because the first iteration of this tweet that came out on Wednesday, stopped was spelled stooped. STOOPED. So, anarchists must be stooped immediately. Either way, this is just disturbing for a U.S. president to be putting out, especially when it references not only a state governor, but a mayor of a city within this country. Beyond that, the wording is just ridiculous and disgusting. Radical left Governor Jay Inslee. Last I checked, Jay Inslee is pretty much a social democrat. He's not exactly radical. But then again, anything in Donald Trump's view that is left or to the left of center is radical. You could be one step over that line towards leftist thought, and you are radical. You are a radical leftist. And mayor of Seattle are being taunted and played at a level that our great country has never seen before. Taunted and played. No, they're not being taunted or played. See, the people are doing what they are constitutionally given the authority to do. They're standing up. They are demanding freedom from tyranny. They are demanding freedom from abuse by the state. That is what the Constitution holds us citizens responsible to do. That when a tyrannical government shows its face, we are to stand up. We are to fight it. And we are to remove it. They're not being played and taunted. The citizens of Seattle are doing what they are constitutionally obligated to do, which is to stand up against a tyrannical government and overthrow it. Funny that Donald Trump has a problem with the citizens taking a stand against a tyrannical government because he himself is a tyrannical leader. Notice that the bunker bitch went straight to his bunker the moment the people tried standing up in Washington, D.C. Now that he is safely thousands of miles from where the insurrection is happening, he tweets acting all tough. Take back your city now. See, Donald Trump constantly fails to understand something. This is not the mayor of Seattle's city. The governor, Jay Inslee, it is not his state. We, as the citizens of the United States, have allowed those in these leadership positions to refer to the states, cities, or countries that they reside or that they lead, the regions, the districts that they lead. We have allowed them for far too long to call it theirs. It is not theirs. It is ours. We own the cities. We own the states. We own the country. We merely elect people to be servants of the public and represent us. That does not make the regions, states, cities, or country they represent theirs. So, we've already picked apart multiple flaws in this tweet. Radical left governor, he's not radical left, nor is the mayor of Seattle. Both of them have come out against defunding the police. Both of them have come out against the fight that we are making to defund the police, to radically change the police. That does not make them radical left, but it infuriates and invigorates his crowd. Being taunted and played at a level our great country has never seen before. This country is built on rebellion, on revolution. This country is built on insurrection against tyranny. Donald Trump, please reflect upon the Boston Tea Party, one of the most famous and celebrated moments of insurrection and tyranny against tyranny that happened in this country. You take back your city. It's not their city. It's our city. Well, not mine, but the citizens. This is not a game. See, Donald Trump says it's not a game, but Donald Trump is playing a game where he invigorates, fires up, and ignites his base. He uses words that they thrive on. He uses words that get them fired up, that get their feathers ruffled. This is not a game. For Donald Trump, it is. But he knows for his cult, his followers, that it's not a game, that this is serious, that radical left anarchists have taken over the city, that they are taking control. They're standing up against tyranny and fascism. Well, that's what we're supposed to do. These ugly anarchists must be stopped immediately. Move fast. See, Donald Trump uses terms like ugly. He uses descriptors of physical strength, physical beauty. He uses these types of descriptors frequently. He's used them ever since he was in the business world. Because for Donald Trump, he feels stronger when people view him as strong or as beautiful or as something to be admired. So by saying ugly anarchists, he sets a distinction from himself that these anarchists are ugly. Most of them are amazing people. They care about their fellow human. They want their fellow human to be safe. Inside of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, they are providing free healthcare to these people, making sure that their fellow people are okay. They are being careful to respect each other, to respect each other's feelings. See, feelings are something that Donald Trump does not like because feelings are weak. But what's the real thing to get at here? There's one phrase in this that is scary. If you don't do it, I will. And Jay Inslee and the mayor of Seattle, they reacted in due part to that, telling Donald Trump to stoop tweeting and telling Donald Trump to get back in the bunker. Because that one phrase right there is Donald Trump saying that he will send the U.S. military to the streets of Seattle to take over the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which has declared itself independent of the United States. Donald Trump is itching for war, even if it's war against his own people. Because as much as they have declared the Autonomous Zone to not be a part of the United States, they still retain U.S. citizenship. So Donald Trump has declared war, or wants to declare war, let me rephrase that, against those free people within the Autonomous Zone. He gets his war. He gets his boots on the ground. He gets to watch the tough military take out the ugly anarchists, because that's something he can play on. That's something he can flip and invigorate his base with, because then he can use at his next campaign rally, which just so happens to be taking place in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Juneteenth, which is something I'll discuss tomorrow. He'll be able to use that as something to fire the crowd up. Hi, I'm the great leader of the United States. I'm the strongest, greatest president this country has ever had. I took out those ugly anarchists after they took over their city. I took them out. I restored law and order, SVU. Because that's all Donald Trump knows. Force. He doesn't understand how to de-escalate things. While he's doing all of this, Congress is talking about ways to de-escalate confrontations between police and unarmed people. While he's talking about all this, Congress is working on actual progress, surprisingly. Donald Trump just wants to run around and, well, be the big tough guy. Greatest president ever, damn it. America. Fucking A. But that's not the only tweet I have to talk about today, because the President of the United States tries to fire up his base in yet another way. He puts out a tweet 10 hours ago. Our great National Guard troops who took care of the area around the White House could hardly believe how easy it was. A walk in the park, one said. The protesters, agitators, anarchists, in parentheses, Antifa, and others were handled very easily by the Guard, DC Police, and SS. Great job. When I first read this tweet, the only thing I went right to was SS. Because, of course, when I hear SS, I think of these assholes. The paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party of Germany. One of the most brutal paramilitary units to exist in the world. Responsible for the deaths of thousands upon millions of people. When I hear SS, I don't think Secret Service, what he was referring to. Again, I think of the most brutal paramilitary wing to ever exist in this world. But it goes beyond that. We're going to break this one apart a couple different things here. Our great National Guard troops who took care of the area around the White House could hardly believe how easy it was. Your great National Guard troops who fired tear gas at peaceful protesters, who with the assistance of the DC Police and the Secret Service pushed peaceful protesters, shot tear gas at them and rubber bullets so you could get a photo in front of a church. See, the reason it was so easy for them to clear out the peaceful protesters was this key word, peaceful protesters. It's quite easy to clear out a bunch of peaceful protesters when they are unarmed and you have an M16 or an M4. It's easy to clear out peaceful protesters when you're shooting tear gas at them and they have nothing else to use against you. It's easy to clear out peaceful protesters when you're using rubber bullets against them and they are unarmed. See, it's super easy to clear out a peaceful protest. I'd be willing to bet that if they weren't peaceful protesters and they were armed, it might have been a little tougher to clear them out for your photo op. A walk in the park, one said. Really? So you're telling me that you quoted a National Guard member saying a walk in the park? Really? Man, that sounds textbook. That sounds like it's straight out of a book, out of a story. How easy was it to pass your driving test? Oh, it was a walk in the park. Doesn't sound like something I would expect a member of the National Guard to say. In fact, I know plenty of people that have either served in or are serving in the National Guard, and I doubt that they would say that using force against unarmed Americans that they swore to protect and defend was a walk in the park. But again, this is Donald Trump's way of portraying power and invigorating his base through the means of saying, look how strong our military is. By the way, it's not your great National Guard. National Guard serves at the bequest of the governor of the state that they are in. You used Army Command to override that power and bring them to your will. The protesters, agitators, anarchists, Antifa, and others. See, the protests he's referring to were peaceful. There were no agitators. There probably were some anarchists. There probably was some Antifa involved, because anywhere there's a protest against Trump, there's people who are anti-fascist because they recognize that Donald Trump is a fascist. They recognize that Donald Trump is a tyrannical leader. See, this is just a continuation of what I talked about when I said, who is the real terrorist? Donald Trump keeps hammering away at that Antifa term. Hell, he capitalized Antifa fully. No one who is actually Antifa would capitalize the full length of the word or the acronym. He keeps using Antifa and anarchists and agitators because he has already linked domestic terrorism to Antifa. And now through that, by saying that anarchists are Antifa, he is now saying anarchists are domestic terrorists. Through that, linking them with agitators, he is saying that they are domestic terrorists. Now, there is this little known rule that the President of the United States and that even Senate cannot or Congress cannot declare a U.S.-based organization to be a domestic terror organization or terrorist organization. Let me rephrase that. That's a big deal here. Donald Trump is trying to say this as much as he can in order to try and make people forget about that little rule. Again, he talks about being handled very easily by the Guard DC police, but it's still, I reflect back to the SS. Now, of course, Donald Trump, he's said so many racist things. He said so many things that just ignore all common decency. Of course, he'd refer to the Secret Service, which is abbreviated the USSS, as the SS. Because, man, that gets his neo-Nazi buddies all fired up. Gets the white nationalists all excited. SS, man. Yeah, America. Because we fought against fascists, and now we have fascists. Because those who scream America some seemingly idolize the SS. Now, I copied the tweet and I put it into my own Twitter just to verify if he was trying to save space on something here. And when you look at it, he has 0 characters left when you put it into Twitter. But that doesn't change something here. He still could have put USSS. All he had to do was remove the 2 periods he put in between the S's. And he could easily fit USSS in there. He didn't, though. This was a stylistic choice. This was a choice by the President of the United States to ensure that the term or the 2-letter acronym invoked a certain thought. Because right now, the base that he loves the most is that nationalist base, specifically that white nationalist base. Most of that white nationalist base, they like the Nazis. They like the SS. They deny the history of the Holocaust and they deny the history of the Nazis. So that base also gets really fired up when they hear that there's a domestic terrorist organization named Antifa going around and leading all of these rallies. So that wasn't a mistake. It was a clear pointed choice by Donald Trump. He knows what it's going to do. It's going to get them fired up. Next time they see someone with an Anarchy A on their body, tattooed onto them, or wearing a shirt that's an Anarchist A, or an anti-fascist shirt, well, shit. If they get shot, at least it wasn't Donald Trump pulling the trigger. He just so also happened to, be the one that made sure that they were fired up to do it. See, this is what we see in Donald Trump's tweets constantly. Inciting violence, inciting hatred. I'm going to take this tweet off the screen before it makes me sick. So again, when I hear SS, I think of these dirty fucking assholes. Donald Trump uses Twitter to incite violence. He uses Twitter to fire his base up against those who he deems as being against him. He uses that base to carry out his deeds in ways that he can't be held responsible for. It's a common tactic that he uses and he continues to use without fear. Calling Black Lives Matter peaceful protesters, calling them domestic terrorists. It incites some fire in him. You remember during the Black Lives Matter protests, and I forget what state it was in, but a white nationalist drove a truck through a crowd. Can't tell me that he wasn't fired up by something that Donald Trump said on Twitter. He uses that platform because they won't silence him. Sure, they'll censor his tweets, and sure, they'll put some sort of disclaimer at the bottom. But other than that, they won't do much. We've seen it with his Twitter. He tried to claim a 75-year-old man was a Antifa provocateur. He is doing everything he can to unite a specific part of his base behind him, to carry out his deeds and to carry out his will. The question is, when are we as the citizens of the United States going to prevent our own Kristallnacht from happening? It's time. We gotta stop this now. The only way I see it happening is more of these ugly anarchists set up autonomous zones. Set up zones where we push the police out of the town and we prove that we can live peacefully without them. Donald Trump's going to go hide in his bunker. He's a bunker bitch. Set up an autonomous zone that surrounds the White House. Let's see how long we can keep him in the bunker. Maybe we can keep him there long enough to get him out. That's all I got. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow night I'll be back with yet another interesting topic. As always, be radical, be audacious, awaken the voice of liberty.